Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Crew Car with me, James Battey, and good friend of mine, Rebecca Yewdall. Sheffy, how are we doing?
Hello, I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
No, all right, not too bad. It's been one of those afternoons, actually, but
Yeah?
I think you probably know all about that now. but yeah. Anyway, Bex,
I'm not saying anything.
how's everything? Where are you in the world at the moment?
I am in Bristol. It's an absolutely beautiful sunny day. And yeah, it's all good here in Bristol.
Nice one.
Where are
You
you?
look like you're in some kind of restaurant. Where am I? I'm currently sat halfway in between Cannes and Mandalore. Pulled over so that I can get some form of signal. So for this,
Oh, yeah.
because someone else was struggling with signal, but we won't mention anything about that. But Sheffy, we met obviously at the beginning of last year when my chef had to go away because she too has a daughter, and you very kindly became highly recommended, and you became, I suppose, part of the TP family.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get, your insight into how you got into yachting, what you love about yachting, what you'd like to change about yachting, and, just to get that kind of perspective.
Yeah, sure. So I got involved in yachting 2011. I was working in London. I took an office job, actually. I sold my soul for a year or two as a recruitment consultant. And I was looking out the window there on Soho Square, and I was thinking to myself, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
I was hungry to travel, really hungry. I'd search on the internet, what can I do? What can I do? Didn't really fancy being an air hostess. And then I came across a course to work on a yacht. And I looked at it and it was like everything on the course description I could already do. I'd worked in hotels, I'd done barista, I've got my chefing background, silver service. I'd also done wine training as a part of my college qualification. So I didn't actually need to do the course. But, the thing is, there's lots of courses out there, but are there any jobs at the end of it? Which is often the case in England. So I rang up the lady and I asked her, but what do you do after the course? And she said, well, this is what you need to do. Gave me all the top secrets. And I said, thank you very much. Didn't bother booking the course, booked my flight down to the south of France, and the rest is history.
So were you were classically trained? Were you a trained chefing before?
Yeah,
before you started the solo?
Yes, yeah.
Job?
I classically trained when I was 18, but to be honest, it put me off. It was
fair enough.
So
hang on, this is actually quite a lot of work.
Yes, it was very hard. Being in the kitchens every day, it put me off, and I went to do other things.
Yeah.
And it was only when I was doing some other things later on, many years later, that I rediscovered my love for chefing and cooking. I mean, I've always had a passion for food, for cooking, for dinner parties, for entertaining friends. But I didn't really enjoy being in the industrial kitchen setup.
Yeah.
So actually working on yachts works perfectly for me because it is like cooking for a family. You've got that dinner party feel to it. You've got your family, your crew, and the guests which you're trying to impress. So it's the perfect combination for me. And I'm so glad that I found it. But yeah.
But you because obviously the interesting part for me and wanting you to have on here, one, obviously you are an amazing person, but two, you've also got kids, and a lot of people in this industry, when they have kids, that's it stops, because they feel like they can't do it. Maybe they don't have the support, and maybe they don't want to, because quite rightly, if you enjoy something and you're talented like you are at doing it, then you want to, continue and pursue that. So how do you find that, balancing it? I mean, how does it work?
Well, for me, whilst I was a chef on board, I thoroughly loved my job. I was one of the yachties that you meet that absolutely loves the job. Now, there's a lot of yachties out there that I meet all the time that moan about this, moan about that. They don't know how lucky they are. I've always loved my job. So when it came to starting a family, I was totally devastated that I'm going to miss out on my job. But for me, having the support of my family, I'm really lucky. My mum is amazing. She takes care of the kids when I go off on these short stints. And I've explained to my children that most people, parents, work part-time throughout the year, whereas I do a year's worth of work squashed into 3 or 4 little segments.
Yeah.
And I think I do a year's worth of work in that time.
No, but
because it's pretty bonkers. It's full on. It's crazy hours.
And chef, I think.
But it works nicely for me because, yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
It works nicely for me because I get to tick all the boxes. I get to come on board and do what I love doing. But then I'm also at home with my children, you know, a lot of the time, which feels like I'm there for everything. I can pick them up from school and drop them off to school every day. And then I go away for a short stint. So, yeah, it works great. It's a great setup for me. And also it allows me to do some of my other hobbies in my spare time.
So, yeah, on that note, because I know what they are, but everyone else doesn't. So, I mean, we'd known that you are essentially like the singing chef. So I know recently I saw that you were out sort of karaoke killing it in Bristol, which I think is, I mean, it's epic. You couldn't catch me singing for Love Nor Money. I think I'm probably tone deaf.
Oh, I don't know, James. You'll have to come to one of my nights. I'm sure we'll get you up.
I will definitely, I'll prop the bar up, but that's about as close as I'll get to a microphone. But yeah, so you do that. I mean, how often are you out doing that? Is this a new business that you've launched? Because, I mean, that takes serious balls to kind of put yourself out there in that way to do that.
Yes, it's happened all organically, really. The karaoke company was just born out of me and my friend wanting to do karaoke, and there wasn't anything near us. So we set up our own karaoke nights, and at first it was absolutely terrible, but we've come a long way in that year, and now we've got a huge following, and we've got bookings until December, and it's just gone absolutely mad. But yeah,
That's awesome.
Pure fun and jokes. It really is. It's so much fun. We bring loads of hats, wigs. People get dressed up and carried away, and it is essentially karaoke disco, you know. So, but my family are all in the industry. My dad is a DJ, still age 70, is DJing in Ibiza. My brother DJs,
legendary,
and runs in the family.
So yeah, we were just talking about how your family is all sort of tied to the, not performance, so to speak, but your dad's a DJ, your brother's in it, and now you find yourself in it. But at the same time, you have many strings to your bow because you also smash out the most amazing cakes, as we found out last season, much to my waistline's sort of non-benefit. But yeah, I mean, so you've got that business. I mean, literally got so many strings to your bow.
Yes, I think I must be a bit ADD because I just get an idea in my head and I go with it, and then it's full on with that, and then, you know, I switch to another one. But I must say I do really like the karaoke. The cupcakes business was great. We were very busy with that, but as I soon discovered, there's not a lot of money in cupcakes, and the work that we put into it, and we were making these cupcake floral bouquets, and you know, each one would take hours and hours to do. So at the end of the month, me and my sister, we'd dish out the money that we'd get for it. It wasn't worth it. But the real reason why I had to give up was because I was eating so many cupcakes and I was just getting so fat. It's like, I do not want to be the 10-ton Tess, you know, I can't do it.
10-ton Tess. I love it.
So we've got to keep in shape for yachting, you know, because it's a young person's industry. I'm not getting any younger, and we've got to keep fit and look in the part to keep getting hired. So
yeah, we'll come to that. I mean, because yachting, like you say, it is an aesthetic industry. I mean,
yeah,
it's when you say to people like, oh yeah, we have pictures on our CVs.
Yeah.
In other worlds, people kind of go, what? Sorry? And it's like, yeah, you have a picture on your CV, and people, the mind boggles, because for most, HR would have a field day at the idea that you've gone, no.
I know. Yeah.
But at the same time, we are a product. So, you know, we are the face of that product when you're essentially selling that product. And therefore, there is a certain aesthetic that you want to maintain in order to basically keep a positive image of the brand, i.e. the yacht's name that you want to put out. Because particularly for us, when you worked with us as well, when we're charter, you know, people are paying a lot of money to charter yachts, and they want a certain
standards
criteria to be met. Yeah, exactly, I suppose, in terms of... But I think also it does... How you keep yourself also says a lot about you as a person. Like, if you look after yourself, you know, in terms of your fitness and what you eat and everything else, it says about maybe how your work ethic is. So there is a sort of certain correlation behind that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of yachting, what have you loved about it? I mean, the travel and whatnot, but I mean, I know last season you had a brief stint of writing some bits and bobs, but then I remember you coming to me going, I've got to take it down because I've got too many people kind of following me on, you know, because, you know what it's like, unfortunately in yachting, we see it all too often, and this is what I'm creating, the kind of infrastructure and ecosystem for yacht crew, so that we can feel supported, because unfortunately, there are bad jobs within this industry where people are exploited and manipulated. And it's really sad for me, because I feel like we do lose quite a lot of good crew because of that. You know, they come into the industry, like you said, you know, they learn from a friend, or someone's done a ski season and they're like, oh God, there's this thing called yachting as well. They come down the mountains. They're great people. They've had an amazing time in the ski season, and they've done a great job, and they're a great host, and they've got the right personality. But then they get on the wrong yacht, and they have a bad experience, and that's it. They're gone. Like, and understandably, like, they're not coming back. And I get that. You get burnt, and it's like, I don't want that. And I think, like you've said, we do sacrifice a huge amount in this industry. Like, you miss birthdays, funerals, weddings, everything. All, you know, because we're told when you can take your holiday. We're told, you know, all of this is dictated to you. You can't be like, well, I really want a week off in July. I fancy a week off in August as well because I've got a mate's birthday. It's like, sorry, that's just not happening. You can't do that.
No.
And it's like, okay, so, you know, how do we get the balance right? And I think, yeah, from my perspective, that's what we're trying to create with this infrastructure, so that we know that people have got certain qualifications, that they meet certain criteria, and then we can start to introduce a standard within yachting. And when we have this standard, we can demand a premium for that standard, because, you know, it costs a lot of money to do courses and keep, qualified and maintain that. And, you know, to be in these places for people, particularly that are trying to start in the industry, you know, you've got to plonk yourself in the south of France, in Fort Lauderdale, in Antigua, or wherever you've decided to start your yachting journey. And that costs a lot of money. So, you know, it's a huge investment. But yeah, I mean, if you had especially being a temp and doing temporary contracts, you must see everything and anything in this industry.
Yes, I'm often called into catastrophes at the very last minute. I could have 24 hours notice, 36 hours notice, and I don't know what I'm walking into. So it's very stressful. You know, I get on board and the chef has left hastily, and the galley could be an absolute disaster zone. I've then got to organise the galley, clean the galley, deep clean the galley, at the same time get $20,000 of provisions packed away where I can find them, organised. And at the same time, I've got to cook for the crew, and the guests are arriving, and I've got no prep. And it is extremely stressful. It's so stressful. the ideal scenario is you have lots of notice, time to plan.
Yeah, you can prep everything. You can sort out your provisioning. You can have everything laid out. But like you say, all too often.
Yeah, that's when they call me.
Yeah,
an emergency cover.
But the thing is, and I mean, I feel bad for saying it because, like, I don't want to give away the secret, but the chef is so critical on board ship. Like, end of. I've always said you can be sat in the most amazing anchorage.
Yeah.
And you're taking this amazing view, and then you get mediocre food, and it's like, this is poor. Whereas you can have broken engines, be stuck in port, but if an genuinely, if an amazing meal comes out that you've never experienced before, it's like you almost save the day. And I do think chefs on board ship have the ability to and they definitely make or break a charter.
I agree, yeah.
And especially on a charter yacht, it is critical that the chef is like on fire because like when we saw when you were cooking and we had with Nikki and other such people that I've had over my career, I find myself just like mind blown when I see what you guys create out of sort of the ingredients and the flavors and particularly the presentation. I mean, like what you were kicking out last season was genuinely mind blowing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, kudos to you.
Thank you. But, that's another thing is when I am on board, I like to do all my provisioning myself and to go out into the markets, especially in the south of France, and select my own ingredients. As you know, you've accompanied me many times to the Cannes market there, or the beautiful market in Antibes. But another thing is when you are coming on board at the very last minute, you have to use the agents. And, some of these agents are like piranhas waiting for the chef to miss a detail on the order form. And, before you know it, I've ordered some cuts of beef and, there's a radio call to say there's a Japanese fine price cow on the quay with a hefty price tag.
Yeah, you got a Wagyu cow being led by a Sherpa down the dock. And you're like, whoa, what have you done here, Bex? What's this?
Yes, and these are the sorts of other complicated...
But they do make very good stories, though. I mean, that's the joy of it.
They do. I mean, it was a funny time when I was very inexperienced and I gave my list to a provisioner in Ibiza and it was my first season. And a truck pulled up and a whole tuna had to get craned onto the boat. A gigantic tuna. I mean... I only wanted a few steaks, so I learned my lesson quite
you were like,
quickly.
Yeah, and then they handed over the bill.
Yeah, and also the weights of things, like ordering herbs. In the past, I've just thought, I'll just have a kilo of everything. And then a pallet of herbs arrived.
Yeah, you can kind of hear the beep of like a pickup truck as it's like laundering off some basil.
Yeah, so, I've had my fair share of trip-ups by the agents, but I must say I've got to give a big shout-out to Gourmet Provisions, who've been absolutely excellent last year. Exactly what I asked for is what I got.
But this is what you want. This is what I'm trying to do, is elevate the good, because we have so much good in the industry, as well as we do have bad. But like by creating transparency and accountability, that's what we're trying to do, is elevate. Like you've just said that you had fantastic experience with gourmet deliveries. Like that's what you want. You want the people who are doing a good job to get the exposure, so that unfortunately in this industry particularly, when you have companies who are good at what they do, maybe they don't get to expand and flourish because other people see what they're doing and try and undercut them purely on a financial metric, but don't have the knowledge of the product. Just literally try and, make a quick buck. And this is what we're trying to close off, essentially, that the good crew, the good management companies, the good provisioners, all of the good, we elevate and we give exposure to. And then we turn around to the bad ones and we say, look, we know what you're doing, either change, which, everyone makes mistakes. I've made loads of mistakes in my life, in my career and everything else, but you have a choice. You change and you get better,
Yeah.
or you don't, and you basically wither and die as a business. And that's what it needs to be, essentially. So we have that accountability.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those. And yeah, I'm pleased that I've had you on today just to chat about your experience. So magic wand, all right, you're allowed to change one thing in yachting. What would you change?
I think, I mean, I really like yachting the way it is.
Yeah.
If I was to change anything, it would perhaps be the effect on marine life and the environment, you know.
So the environmental aspect.
Yeah, definitely. The products that we're using should all be, you know, environmentally friendly for the fish.
As much as possible, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like it when we're in Caribbean islands and you're not allowed to use any products in the washdown. I mean, it's not very good for the deck team, but at least the surrounding environment is not getting polluted by things. I mean, that's probably my thing. Also, like recycling. I've worked on boats where nobody recycles. I've worked on boats where it's strict recycling. On your boat, it's really good. You've got a great recycling system. But some ports, there aren't recycling options. Some ports, there are. So it's not always possible. I'd like to see better changes around that, really.
It's nice to see what's important. Like, everyone has different parts of yachting that they want to change. But the whole idea is that we, as a group of individuals, we can start to address that and see how we can help and try and get things in place. And I think that's it. Yachting's always been, from my perspective, very fragmented. Lots of little pockets of people, groups. But there's never been one place where we can all gather and go, hey, you know, this is something I'd really like to try and change, and see whether other people are like, yeah, me too. And then, you know, you meet and make new friends and you start new organisations and new businesses develop out of these things with people who are all in the same mindset.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
wicked. Nice. Well, Vex, it has been, as always, an absolute pleasure talking with you. And thank you for... Yeah, we did get there in the end. Enjoy your time in Bella Italia.
You know, I just have to explain,
the Prosecco picture behind you
is because we had internet problems.
Huh?
I just have to explain to our viewers that the reason why Chef Rebecca is in Bella Pasta is because we had internet problems.
Bella Pasta. We did have some...
we also have some...
Yeah, exactly. It's actually where you're working now. Is actually you're taking a step back.
Stop it.
Wicked. All right, my dear. Well, I'm going to end the call now, but thank you so much.
If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month, with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise. Your audience is already listening.